All right, y'all, let's get into Birth of the Man-Child Part 2 and that home delivery birth and such, because America is going to go through some times, and that lower chakra, that serpent's going to rise up, and it's either going to bring you up or bring you down in a way. And the polarization, the left and right, the positive, negative, this is part of the searing of the mark in the right hand, and the left helps establish this mark. And this is a replay of the 1920s flappers, all right, the dancers, the dancers, and the dons here. Anyways, the flappers is part of the two wings that are gathered on the back of the dragon. And the woman's coming in and she's riding that dragon. She's pulling back the reins. And as she pulls back the reins, this is putting out the lights, or the light of the candlestick of these begotten sons. These beasts revolve around and they're pin and shit. So let's get into this, because the book of life has been opened in one way, and it's starting to open at least. And this is part of Mark, who has the demons, the demons. Mark is a disciple. So the new heaven is breaking open. The old heaven's being taken out in one way, shape, or form. So as the internet and blockchain technology and virtual reality and all these things, technology, where man merges with machine, like 50-50, perfect balance, all right? This is going to be the new where we're going in a way. But as these things open up, old man is going to be left behind. All right, this is where the man and woman shall wither away. And it's also with her away, because you're going to go with either mom or you're going to go off by yourself when time comes, when the birth of the man-child comes, that teen and such. So the man, that teen is like where you know what's going on, but you don't know what's going on. You're placing blame on the wrong thing. You're blaming yourself. All these other things. Okay, when it's just out there, it's mom and dad splitting up, and it has nothing to do with the children and all these other things. They're trying to keep things in a balance, and wherever this is where the parallel economy comes in, to where they're going to give a mechanism for these people to wean themselves out or to wean themselves in. But this is where also we're already being seen the armies that gathered, part of the dead that's going to be rising, that have been shot to death in a matter of speaking. And then that's where you have the FEMA camp set up for these people and all these other things. And this is where we can see the new heaven setting up. It works out in the worst way possible first, and this is where you have to come in with the Terminator machines, or the Optimus Prime, the Clone Wars and shit. And you're playing games, but you're going in and taking these infected people out or whatever kind of thing. It's like it's the real games coming to real life and shit. Okay? So, this is where we can see these things, where these teens, the young shall rule the old, because our kids can kick our ass at Fortnite or whatever. And it's training for these times coming. Okay? So, these are amazing times, and this is like where we can see, like when the UFOs first appear, the trumpet sounded, the Trump ET, it sounded for the Space Force. But this is where we can see, like, the next 4 years they go into space battles and this type of shit, because all this is going to be going on to like 2032, 2036, these types of things, for that like full balance, for the infrared vision. Okay? But now that we're here for the Labor Day and the second coming, and this lines up for the mirror on the 6/2 for that year, and then that goes to the 26th, and the 26th on 9/11 and 2027. Now I can go back and better understand the things that I've told you in these time gaps that I've seen for that millennial reign. Because with the Generation X is the crossroads, and this is where the crossroads on America, on 4/8 eclipse, and that 4/8 lines up to the 4/8 America and the 4/8 eclipse for the dawn, when he goes under and doesn't shine his light because the woman was covered in the sun, and then she's not going to be covered in that sun's light. And then as that woman comes with Kamala and the spiritual to the carnal, this is when the sun, the man-child comes, and she's covered in it, and all those other things, and the bleeding, and those things come for that birth of the man-child, and the flesh, and the fleas, and all that stuff. And then next year for the 23, this is where we see like the mosquitoes, and the fleas, and the ticks, and all those things all coming in for the beastmen. They'll be scratching their head and shit. Well, I wonder if they're right. I wonder if I am left behind. I wonder what I took, all this other shit or whatever, right? But the book of life is being opened. So once it's open, once that censorship is shown in these things, this is when we have a new heaven and earth breaking open. The internet now is just setting up the heaven. Now it's going to be opened up. The internet is just now giving birth. We don't even know what the internet is capable of, because once you understand the internet and it's connecting into this force of earth, and we are all connecting in this way, and this force is flowing through all of us, and all these things are all going together, and it's all connecting it and helping man rise up, because we're going to reset this earth eventually, and reset man, and reset everything, because God, the light, we are the lampstand of the light. God works through us, the living God. We are crystals. We are the crystals. And we can do all things. Man can do all things. Can't do it overnight, but he does it over time. And this is where we're bringing God back to earth, because we are God. And we worship man. We worship God through man. That's where you get the begotten sons, people worshiping Buddha, people worshiping Jesus, whatever. This is where Paul is taking people back to the garden and saying, Jesus is the second Adam. And this is where Jesus is coming in and saying, you got to leave that church that is taking you back to the beginning, the church of Laodicea, the CIA. And you're in the CIA, and they're gathering their church at the Bible, the bell worship, the people who are judged by their works. Well, my work is what gives me my life. I love being a slave for Billy Bob up there at the old whatever y'all are doing. So the internet, the blockchain technology, everything's like linear right now, and that's where you get the periodic table or whatever. And this is where the Russell's periodic table or whatever comes in. That's a wave or whatever, that's circles and such. But this is where we're going from a linear perspective to a open perspective, and this is tying in the matrix and the net, where we're going to retrain our brain to act as the AI per se. But we can already do that, but we have to break the programming that we're told. But that's a whole nother video. So the man-child birth, I had my first kid at 36. And when that happened, I basically lived my life not having kids, not getting married or whatever to a certain age. And then the abomination happened in 2012, Mayan prophecy, all this stuff was happening or whatever, and all going together. And it's like, man, end times is happening, but not in the way that they're telling us or whatever. So when Obama and the abomination, that kind of thing happened, and then Colorado opened up recreational, and then I was a grower. I was basically married to cannabis in my 20s and early 30s and such, and I went from cannabis to the wife I have now, but the one replaced the other in a matter of speaking, and it went together and kind of seemed together, and then to where I didn't live my life revolved around cannabis in a way, and then it got to a peak where that's all I was doing. It was like a tribulational thing where I was getting the fruits of the Spirit, and I was being taken down into the garden per se to learn on my own and be taken into the single eye and such, because I had a grow, and it was like a fulfillment of one spiritual dream, but it was a real toll on the carnal side of things with a woman and kids and such, and having to be at the garden daily for 12, 14 hours and whatever kind of thing, like on average. But either way, so I could see where the beginning of one dream was peaking, and then the beginning of another dream was starting, but that balance was off. So long story short, after we went to do this, man, there's so many after one child, we went here, okay? After another child was announced, we went here, okay? One was born, and then we went like 6-9 months later, and then the other one, we was impregnated, and then we acted out of fear, is the best way to say it, and went there, and I didn't listen to my wife basically when she called crying and upset or whatever. But either way, I went down there, and that's when we went into our so-called 8-year tribulation that we're coming out of, and we're trying to come out of it to where we moved for, we were basically lied to in a big picture view, okay? And our inheritance was taken from us in one way, and then with that inheritance we bought land preparing for the cannabis legalization in Oklahoma and such. But either way, we got to a point where the business was fine in a way, but it didn't support the house and whatever thing going on. But also it with the COVID stuff coming on and different things going on, and the price drop or whatever, it wasn't worth chasing after that kind of thing. So we just had to do the bankruptcy 11 and lose everything, and then the land that we bought with that saved us in a matter of speaking. And then now we basically just took our toys and our bikes, the stuff for the kids, and our clothes and whatever. But that's basically all that we took with us when we were given the opportunity to sell in Oklahoma and get out of that tribulation. And then lo and behold, our neighbor and the person who bought our land tells us that tornado that destroyed Marietta and Sulphur or whatever, but it started over our land, and then destroyed the Family Dollar and the only grocery store there, and the main source of employment, all that kind of stuff there. But then it took out the old city that we moved from before that, which was Sulphur, and flattened it. All right, but we'll end the video here because of time, and then do a part 3 for a little bit more parables on the man-child birth.